Greetings and welcome to Nathan Lyle Official. For those of you who have never seen my face in a video before, my name is Nathan Lyle. This is my personal channel where I do vlogs, reviews, and other things that catch my fancy at the time. This video is the Naked Truth in response to Trisha Hershberger. She did a Naked Truth on how to start your own comic book. And honestly, the only reason I'm this late, I'm doing it the next day. But that's because yesterday was a busy one for me. A lot of shit went down. And, well, oh my god, this is something I have plenty to say about. I'm actually in the middle of a video game, and I was watching that, listening to it as background noise, and I just feel like, okay, I have plenty to say about this. I'm gonna try to keep it as short and simple as possible, to the point. I have my own comic book, and I'll describe more about that later. My biggest issue right now with just life in general is the fact that people suck. And I, in general, have trouble dealing with other people. And maybe you can make that a Naked Truth topic. But now also because I have dreams. I have such lofty, ambitious goals. And it's hard to do anything without other people's help. It's hard for me to get my foot in the door, get anything off the ground, without at least a couple other people who are willing to just do a little dirty work for a little bit. I don't have the money that I can afford to pay people, so I need ambition more than anything else. I've got some money, it's not a huge deal. I know I didn't go to business school or anything, but honestly, I spent 3 years of my childhood wanting to be an accountant. And then I realized it's bullshit that you gotta go through this much college and do this much stuff to get a degree to say, oh, we taught you stuff that you figured out on your own when you were 10. That was a choice that I made. Because when it comes to money, I'm set. I've just got a basic job washing dishes. And I don't live I'm not a king or anything. I live in a shitty one-room apartment in a bad part of town. And I don't even have a bed. But, you know what? I've saved up enough money already just from my basic job that I can quit it right now and I can still pay rent for another year. Food is another issue. When it comes to food, well, I'm going to go on a diet, I'm going to lose some weight, but I'll have enough money to pay rent for a year. So I can handle money, which that's really the only reason why I ever even really want to be part of Hollywood. I don't want to be part of that whole culture of celebrity and fame. But there's nothing more appealing than to be able to make a living doing something you love. Because then you do something you love, and then people pay you for it. And then you can pay rent and buy groceries and then take the rest of the money and make something else that you love. That sounds awesome to me. It really does. As opposed to, in my free time when I'm not busy with work and family and all this other crap I've got to take care of, then every now and then I get to sit down and write. Yeah, I'm trying not to get off topic, but it's hard because I've tried doing things, web series, and it's hard to find people who are willing to do cameras, lighting, sound, editing, and all this other stuff, and especially acting. Because honestly, I can do everything else on my own. I don't like doing it, and I'm not the greatest at it. But I went to college to learn how to do all of these things. The hardest part is just that I'm not an actor. That's the hardest part. And just getting people to agree to do this, to be here at one time, hey, I just need an hour one Sunday for you to just sit here and talk to each other and just let me film it from a couple different angles on my really shitty camera, and then I'll go home on my really shitty laptop with my really shitty editing equipment, and I will make magic, and I'll put up a 4-minute video. And it's hard enough just getting people to come to do that, and honestly, if I had money and I could offer people, hey, I can give you a living wage, then that would be awesome. I have enough money to support myself. The problem is getting money to come to me, without taking on a huge loan. Because I don't want to take on the thousands of dollar loan without knowing that I'm going to be able to actually do this project. Because then, I'm now saddled with debt that I'll never be able to pay off. because a bunch of people were like, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Let me just get my feet wet. Oops, nope, the water's too cold. Bye. I'm backing out at the last second. Despite all the work we did and all the shit we put into it, I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't handle it. Bye. So yeah, that's my biggest issue right now. I've tried reaching out to artists, but it's hard to find people. It's hard to find people with the same drive and passion and determination as me, who are willing to play the long game and wait it out, because I understand that success is not going to come overnight. It would be amazing if it did, but I understand it could be a very long grind. And like I said, if I'm in the same boat as many other people. If I could draw, I've taken lessons to learn how to draw. I can draw a pretty decent horse. I can trace fairly well, but I can't like just straight up draw the pictures that are in my mind and make them look beautiful on a page to the point that other people would actually put money to get this. So I'm having trouble connecting with other artists who can really commit to this project without, like I said, being able to give them actual money. Like, I've got some saved up enough that I can do something. But we get back to the point of I need the commitment first before I start just throwing cash at you. Like, I have a little bit to offer, just a little. Anyways, but yeah. So right now, the only reason my dreams are on hold are because, as I've said before, people suck, and it's hard to connect with others who can share my passion and vision and are willing to do the work to get there. It seems like everyone else is just, I get it, it can be scary to take a risk, and I'm not going to push anyone to it, but it also kind of sucks. You see, it's just, I don't know, I can't explain, it's just the world we live in. It's harder on some people than it is others. So yeah, back to the question you had at hand. Like, the comic book that I have, I've actually created 2 separate comic books that are entirely self-sustaining worlds. One of them started as an idea for a movie, which was based off of Hancock. I don't know if you saw the Will Smith movie based off a comic. I saw that, I loved it, and I thought that I wanted to make a superhero like that. And then I ended up deciding, well, I can't basically just copied that exactly, but then I was like, I need an origin story for me to explain how my guy got like this. And so I ended up going back and creating an origin story, which ended up just kind of blooming into this entire circular universe. And then even once I ended up having this entire full story, I still had to go back and make a prequel for it. So long story short, I've got this entire universe full of people with different superpowers. There's government conspiracies. Now there are children dying. There's lots of stuff going on, and that one I don't have as much invested in. The other one, like my main superhero comic book that I don't want to give too much information about, is just, it started when I was 7, almost 20 years ago, because I saw the Spawn movie. And I loved it so much, and I started reading the comics, and I watched the TV show, and I loved the character so much. I was like, I want a character exactly like this. And basically, as the years go by, like, it started out basically just being a clone of Spawn, and then I added elements of all my other favorite superheroes like Spider-Man and Batman, some Green Lantern, some Superman, some Hulk, some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then it got to a point that, like, I'm a teenager and I'm like, I'd actually like to make this superhero someday. And so then I decided to start slowly stripping away one power after another to make this person more realistic. And also trying to figure out how exactly does he get this power, what is his power, how does he get it. And ended up surprisingly getting inspiration from The Simpsons, which I can't even specifically tell you what that was without giving away too much information. But yeah, long story short, I stripped away many of his powers and abilities, tried to make, and ended up being he's still got many of the core elements that made him him. There are elements of him that you can still see the influences from Spawn and Spider-Man and Hulk and Batman. you can still see some of those influences in the character, but I still managed to make him into his own unique identity. And there are things about him that are that I purposely chose to make different from the other superheroes, like the fact that he's 5'7", which that's something that's always bugged me about superheroes. They're just unrealistic in so many ways, like the fact that you've got, oh, Superman. I still refuse to accept the whole, oh, this Clark Kent is this 6'4" muscle-bound guy, and nobody ever once suspects him because he has glasses that magically make him look nothing like Superman. Oh my God, I look so drastically different. You don't even recognize me anymore. Nathan, you're back. Actually, there was someone did a parody of that. I forget which channel, but they did that with Batman and Superman. It was really funny. Someone did a video of that. It's on YouTube somewhere. I'll see if I can find it and point it out to you if you haven't already seen it. But anyway, so yeah, I just try to make him. He's a normal fuck guy. He's shorter than the average hero. He's Hispanic because I grew up in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood. I'm from South Texas. We're basically North Mexico. There are more people who are at least partially Hispanic than there are that aren't. Most of the people I know are either Hispanic or at least half or 1/8 Hispanic or something. And so I ended up with both of my comic book universes having a heavily Hispanic population, not only among the main characters, but many of the background characters that you see walking around. That was a choice that I made because you don't see it in comics that often. And another choice that I made very recently, just in the past year, was to give him a mental disability. And it actually kind of happened by accident because it was an idea that I'd had when I was a kid about having different guys, about how basically it's an element of Spider-Man, that how Peter Parker and Spider-Man are two completely different identities. You can't, Peter is this shy, reserved, quiet guy, and then you got Spider-Man who never shuts the hell up. And I was like, what if we had an even greater disconnect? What if they actually were two separate identities within his brain? And I ended up deciding, wait a minute. What if that also wasn't a choice? Like what if it really was two people inhabiting his brain? And so I decided last year, I'm gonna give my superhero dissociative identity disorder. And I didn't want to just tack it on, say he has it, and then move on. I actually had to do a lot of research on it because I'm sure many people have heard it and have seen it portrayed in movies and TV shows. I know I have because I got the idea from me, myself, and Irene. But I still start to do thorough research because I didn't want to misrepresent this thing. But it's an idea that I had because someone said it to me once about, oh, I wish there was a superhero with OCD. Because sometimes seeing somebody that you respect who also struggles with stuff like this in their daily life, it can help other people dealing with it cope, especially young kids. They're seeing someone who's just like them doing these fantastic, amazing things with their life. And I thought, this seems like an awesome idea to me, and it makes the job so much more difficult, but I think we can do so much good with it. A little bit of extra work for us can change so many more lives. And so yeah, that's in a nutshell. I've got this one guy is the center of the entire universe. And he's got allies, he's got his older brother who eventually develops powers that technically he already had. He just didn't realize how to use them till later on. He's got a best friend who's a cop who ends up later turning evil, and a bunch of other people. He's got some He's got a lot of characters who end up having spin-offs, which actually two of them, one of them is this half alien, half human kid who was actually started as his own separate story, and I decided to incorporate him into this one. And there's another guy who he eventually later on down the line gets a sidekick, and I decided to give that sidekick his own spin-off series. There are so many different elements to this, and I've also a few years back, when I was still in my early 20s, made the decision that I wanted him to be part of the DC universe. So I did incorporate some DC characters into his storylines, but no, that's also kind of wishful thinking. Like if Marvel comes at me saying, "Hey, we're gonna give you like $20 million to sell this character to us," I'm gonna be like, "Fuck it, bye." Like, okay, good luck. I hope you and Captain America have a fun time in the Avengers. Fuck you, DC. But like in my dream scenario, like I imagined him more part of the DC universe. That being said, as I told you, I've created an entirely self-sustaining universe so that I don't need major publishing or anything else. Like he has plenty of his own like villains and hero sidekicks and heroes that are unique to him, and many of them branch off into their own storylines. So we can make this an entire series. And as I've said before, the only thing that stops me is, I'm not an artist and I don't have the money to pay a full-time artist. And so I'm just begging people to help me at this point. But like all the groundwork has been laid and I just need people. That's really the only thing stopping me from chasing this dream. Just people. And unfortunately, I'm not a people person. I don't really have the power to just step in and be like, "Hey, you want to help me with this? Yes, you do. Come on, let's go, buddy." I'm not that kind of guy, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's my story. Got a superhero who has one power, which isn't even that strong a power, but he's changed himself so well that he ends up becoming an incredibly strong hero, capable of saving hundreds of lives at a time. And he's got this entirely self-sustaining universe where not only does he have plenty of his own villains in their lives, but many of those people end up having their own spin-offs where they've got their own villains in their lives. And it's something I'm very proud of, because like I said, the original idea for it happened when I was 7, almost 20 years ago, and that's the main reason why it's been able to grow to this level, why it's become so strong, because I've had that much time to work on it and constantly think of it. And I'd love to be able to put it out there to share with the rest of the world, at least someday down the line. Who knows? It might never happen, but it's something that I am hopeful for, and I've actually done steps to work towards it. I continue to improve the storyline and the characters every day. It's something that it never leaves my mind. And so I have no idea how to end this, so I'm just going to say goodbye. I'm going to go back to playing video games and eating Oreos. I forget, I haven't done this in a while. I forget what my ending slate was, but like something like, till the next time I see you, have a good day, or whatever that shit is. So, yeah, bye. That's my very long, drawn-out story. I think I said I was going to make this short. I lied, apparently.